Hi, I'm John Lynch, and this is John Lynch Speaks. We've got 4 weeks for me to talk about depression, so today I'm just going to jump past even what depression is to get to my passion of why I would even do this series. Each of us carries some measure of what the fall has done, the damage of the fall. And the trouble with depression is that it is vulnerable to bad teaching, to bad religion, because there is a victorious voice of sometime the moralistic filter that gets put onto Scripture that isn't there in Scripture. And so bad preaching can beat you up. In fact, you can beat yourself up if you don't read this with a non-filter. There's no condemnation in this book. But if I read it with condemnation, with a filter of shame, or if someone does that to me, the righteous cry and the Lord hears them, Psalm 37:17 says, and he delivers them out of all of their troubles. So what's wrong with you? Why don't you get better? Psalm 41-3. See, I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined his ear to me. He brought me up out of the pit of destruction and out of the miry clay. He set my feet upon a solid rock, make me my footsteps firm. He put a new song in my mouth. And we can beat ourselves up. And we can feel though it is something that I have done wrong, that if I could just pull it together, I would be better. And I would be back with the team. I would be back with the crowd. So I just want to read these words to you, these thoughts to you. Bad religion, shame mixed with depression, it's a double whammy. Bad theology and shame and depression, it is a toxic cocktail. So when I allow bad religion or moralism or law or shame to beat me up in those moments where my mind is telling me I'm not enough and there's something wrong with me and nobody can get close, it can feel like God's hiding from you. It can feel like God is disappointed with you. It can feel like you are a failure as a believer. It can feel like God's forgotten you. It can feel like God could heal, but either he doesn't love you enough or he's not strong enough to do it. It can feel like depression must be some form of punishment for not getting your life together. And it can feel like depression will only ever go away when you get fixed and you shape up and you figure something out. And so that sends us even into a deeper place of darkness. So if you hear nothing else in this series, hear these words. Depression is not character weakness. Depression is not spiritual immaturity. Depression is never a punishment for God. Depression is not sin. Depression is not because God doesn't love you enough. And depression is never because you are not enough. Depression is never because you are not enough. It's a result of the fall. And it is not your fault. It's one of the finest expressions of heroism and trust for you to daily trust Jesus Christ, even in the midst of that which you cannot explain or understand and that feels like it is unraveling you. This is bravery against all darkness. And one day this will be revealed in the city where there is no need for artificial illumination. I love that. In 1 Peter 4:12 and 13 that I'm going to read in just a second. God's not playing you. He stands over you in the arena. Our God has experienced and experiences with you all you are feeling. He chooses to stand right in the moment with you and feel all that you are feeling. He will not let you feel it alone. God is not indifferent to your pain. Some of the finest humans and some of the finest works of art and literature have been formed by those who suffer with depression. And God is especially and uniquely proud of you. God has those who long to protect and stand with you. You just have to let them in. Remember what we said last time. Do not hide away by yourself and think that you're doing anyone a favor. Lovers have to be able to meet a need. And they can only meet a need if you tell them what's going on. And you're not a second-class Christian. And God hears you and is interacting with you even when you don't feel it. That's where comfort comes in, even in the midst of this stuff, is to believe that our God has his arms around you and is holding you and is whispering your name and saying, I've got you, even though the storm won't let me hear it. Oh, and by the way, we can still see Christ in you even when you don't feel like it's visible. And you, my friend, you have a shame-free identity. You're righteous. You're holy. You're right on time. And I love those words in 1 Peter. Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal amongst you which comes upon you for your testing. Not temptation. Temptation is always trying to trip you up. Testing is always for your benefit. He already knows the result. It's for you. It's so you can know who you are. It's so that you get to see God revealing you. And you get to say, are you kidding me? But to the degree that you share the sufferings of Christ, keep on rejoicing, so that also at the revelation of his glory, you get to, maybe even especially, rejoice with exaltation. Many of you I'll never see until we get to the wedding feast of the Lamb. And we will get to exalt. I'll look over at you and we will exalt with exaltation. Woo-wee, is that going to be a day? All right, you guys. Let's stop it for now. I'm John Lynch, and this is John Lynch Speaks.